This
ideally,
conference will now be recorded.
hold on one second, you guys. I wanted to make sure we're doing something proper here. Can everybody hear me okay? I hope
Yes.
so. So, I'm sorry, somebody said something? All right. Well, anyway, so hopefully everybody can hear me all right. So, the whole idea about what I really wanted to tell you guys is that I've been watching a lot of different people and seeing how they're growing and how they're developing, how they're changing. And what I'm finding is, for myself, for them, and I believe this for you all as well, is that, it's nothing more than wherever your mindset is currently is where you will be. So it doesn't matter what your physicality is, what your physical location is, what your circumstances are currently. It's literally all about where we're projecting our mindset. So, for instance, I had it's graduation time and so on and so forth. And so traditionally in my businesses, because of the type of businesses they are, around holidays and graduations and all that kind of stuff, things slow down for me. And it happens that way for a lot of other people. So I have a buddy, Mark, who's in the bathtub reglazing business, so he goes out and basically repaints people's bathtubs and tiles and all that kind of stuff and makes them look nice and shiny and new, their sinks and all this other crap. So the thing is, and his business slows down too. So certain businesses slow down quite a bit. I have a buddy, Shar, last holiday she sells on eBay. She did, really, really well, right? And then she had another period where she did not so well. But the thing is, different businesses react in different ways. So I had to start thinking, with this slowdown, I had to start rethinking my position, if you will. And what I came up with is, I can't allow my circumstance, right? So the circumstance of the norm of what I have learned to accept to be what works for me. So I had to think beyond my current circumstances, right? So I had to, make some big moves, if you will. I had to think beyond my circumstances. And so what I did was I was like, screw it. I have this email list, right, which has been come to my aid on many occasions, even though I don't use it the way I'm supposed to. And I shot out an email for a business I rarely market as a business anymore, which is the teaching people the whole CPN game and yada yada, right? And the thing was, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put the email out there. It's a slow period of time, and I'm going to give a discount from what I would normally sell that business for. And I made like $3,000, right? So I made from last Monday to last Friday, I made $3,000, which obviously helps my bottom line. And the point to that is that it wasn't just the $3,000, which I'm very grateful for making. I'm extremely grateful for bringing that in. My objective, my goal was to try to make $10,000. Okay. And so I didn't make the $10,000 that I really wanted to make, but I made $3,000. And, as most of you know, that's working literally from my sofa. And the thing that I'm trying to get across to you is not the $3,000, which, to me was a great plus. It was not that at all. It was the fact that every time I am sincere and project my mind outside of my current circumstances and my current situation, the answer comes to me, just like the answer will come to you all, right? We're not bound by where we're at right here, right now. We're literally not bound by where we're at or what's going on with us at this point in time. And so it's imperative. It's absolutely imperative that all of you, all of us, start understanding that it is very possible for us to be in a certain circumstance and then subsequently change that circumstance, right? It's extremely possible for us to be where we're at right here, right now, like me sitting on my sofa having this conversation with you all, but then 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, being completely, utterly different than where we're at right now. And I have found in my existence that, I become very comfortable and with my circumstances, and the only time that I become emotionally attached to change is when my circumstances aren't what I want them to be, right? And so when my circumstances aren't what I want them to be, then all of a sudden I will become emotionally attached, which I believe is very important to making a change in my where I'm at, whether it's financially, emotionally, circumstantial, whatever it is, it's when things aren't right, that's when I make that change. And when I was younger, I would constantly be emotionally attached to my development and my growth. And so therefore I just was constantly growing until I went broke, right? But the point is that I didn't take any shorts, that's the old saying. I didn't take no for an answer. I didn't, my philosophy back in the day was fuck it. What's the worst thing that can happen? And I lived by that. And then I as I got older, I stopped living by that. But when I was in that mode, my emotional attachment to my development, my growing, my success, my living a certain lifestyle, all that stuff was so much greater. And, honestly, when I reach that, that's not reaching back, quite honestly. It's when I start having those same emotional attachments to what to basically saying, fuck it, what do I have to lose? Let me just do this thing, and I become emotionally sincere about it. Things just seem to happen, because I'm manifesting it in my mind and I'm attaching myself to it, right, in an emotional fashion. And then subsequently, when I've attached myself to it in an emotional fashion, then it just seems like it starts to create itself, right? So, first I manifest the thoughts, I become emotional about it, like, oh my God, I got to make this crap happen, because I got this, this bill, I got this, whatever it is, I want to do this, I want to do that. And it's just like a part of me. It's not like just something where I'm just saying it off the top of my head, where I'm just going, oh man, I'd like to have, or I'd like to do, or I'd like to whatever. It's not I like to, it's I got to, right? And when I get into that I've got to stage, just like for everybody on this call, there's not one person on this call that can tell me that they haven't had a situation in their life, whatever it is, financially or with emotionally or something, right, where they were so desperate to make it right, to make something good happen out of a bad scenario, that they didn't manifest without and then subsequently create it. And so that's what I want to get across to everybody is that, when I look around me and I'm trying to learn more from a broader range of people that have knowledge that I want. I see that in them. I see that these different people, they're when they figure out for themselves that whatever life they're leading at this point in time is not the life that they want to continue to lead, right? Then all of a sudden it's like they become aggressive about their change. And so when they become aggressive about that change, it seems like that mental thought, right, that manifested thought, then subsequently creates scenarios and situations for them to make the change. And I find that throughout my entire life, when I think back, that's the way it's always been. And when I talk to people, and I talk and I have a lot of people that I speak with, and for whatever reason, I'm that individual that a lot of people will come to for whether it's business, personal. Everybody, they're constantly pimping for information. That's why I had to start charging people, because they're constantly trying to pimp me for information. And so one of the things that I gathered is that when they whether they just had a divorce or they were just a good relationship that was starting to go bad, or whatever the case is, things didn't start to change until they started making like emotional connection to that change that they desired. And then once they did that, it seemed like doors started opening, whether it was to get divorced or whether it was to get help for their relationship, or whether it was to change them, right? Because you can't change anybody else. Whether it was to change themselves, if they were an asshole, to make it work, or in the case of business, if they were in a scenario that their business was slow, just foul, just, rotten, it wasn't working, they would develop some new shit. They would just literally take the core of that old business and just develop something new. But it took them having to have an emotional upheaval, right? And then becoming emotionally attached to this new idea, which then subsequently created the doorways that opened up, seemingly magically, for them to do whatever the hell it was. And the same thing goes with, my thought, because I literally, I looked at my income, and it was like less than half of what I made in the first part of last month, right? And I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous, And so I was I'd say way less than half actually. And so what I had to do is I was just like, man, I gotta do something. I gotta, and I, once again, I became emotionally attached to, doing something, and whatever that something was, I had no clue. But once I became emotionally attached to the fact that my income was a fraction of what it was last month at the same period of time, right? Which I know I need a certain amount of money to make it and to survive. Then once I had that in my head, and I was sincerely emotional about it, because I'm like, shit, I got bills to pay, I got things to do, I got to make stuff happen. The idea came to me, well, shit, send out an email, man, and just make it something special. I mean, literally, what am I selling for that $1,000? I mean, I'm my cost factor out of that is, I don't know, $25, right? So, because most of it is just what I was selling, 90% of it, or actually 99% of it, to make that $1,000 is me, right? It's just selling some conversation for $1,000, and some information that I have written down like 10 years ago, right? 5 years ago. Some of it is a little newer. Some of it is newer information, so it might be a year old. But nonetheless, it's information that's already created that I can subsequently sell that somebody else can utilize to change their existence and build a business for themselves, to do something positive for themselves. So all of that, it came to me, it was like, shit, I had that emotional attachment, and then subsequently, the idea manifested itself. Now, I'm telling you guys, without the emotional thought process, right, without having a true, sincere emotional feelings about what was going on with me, and financially and all that, and knowing that I had bills and obligations that I need to take care of, things I'm trying to accomplish, then, I wouldn't have had the epiphany. I would not have had that thought process where I came up with the idea of sending out an email on a product, that I could offer to people that, literally, on that $1,000 is going to cost me, like I said, about $25. And so I've gotten 3 people to buy that, that information and a bit of my time, for $3K, right? And once again, I wanted 10. I was like, I need 10 grand, but I got 3. And so am I going to complain about that? Hell no. Because that's $3,000 more than what I had, and it's $3,000 that will take, once again, my cost would be about $75, because all the information, other than what this little stuff that I'm going to give them, other than that, the information is already in my emails. I email it out to them, and then I'll spend time with them on the phone, right? And so, I'll spend time with them on the phone, which is extremely valuable, and I mean that, because I'm a master teacher. I'm very good at teaching stuff. So, but I needed $3,000, and they are going to get a master teacher teaching them how to make money in several different arenas, right? And so, but I would not have been able to create that. Do you guys understand that? Without having an emotional attachment and feeling a certain way, to create and then, bring to fruition that $3,000. And I don't want to get stuck on the amount, because your amount might be 30,000, your amount might be 100,000, your amount might be 1,000,000 or 1,000,000,000 or 1,000,000,000,000 or whatever it is, that you want, need, and desire. But the point is that, to make these big moves, and I keep on using that because I like that term, to make these big moves, honestly, you, I, and anyone else, we have to start changing, our perspective on things, right? We have to start, because once again, it doesn't matter where you're at right at this very second in time. What matters is where you're going to be at in the next second in time, where you're going to be at in the next minute in time, where you're going to be at in the next hour, so on and so forth. I have seen it over and over and over again, and I'm really trying to learn and relearn some of the stuff that I have learned in the past, and more importantly, grasping a lot of the stuff that's out there for me to learn in my future as well. Because there are things that I want and will do, and in order to do those things, I have to change my knowledge base, and I have to take what I already know, right? Take what I already understand, take what I already believe, and develop it, no doubt about that. But just as important, I have to take in whatever direction I want to go in or you want to go in, you are going to have to, just like I'm going to have to, if it's a new direction, you're going to have to, just like I will have to, also go out and learn and glean as much information from people that are already doing that stuff that you want to do. And if necessary, pay them to be a teacher, right? Pay them to be your coach, whatever it takes, man. Buy their information, learn their stuff. If you say that, I don't give a crap what it is, that you want to do X, Y, or Z, then you're just going to have to go and pay for that information. Read on that information. Hire someone as a coach, that's doing 50 times, 100 times better than you are, and the reason being is because you want to, develop those steps. My buddy D was on the phone. Denise was on the phone last week, and she was telling you guys, she's paying. She wants to be a speaker, which I want to be a speaker actually, because it's hella profitable, and it's just a good look all the way around, right? So she wants to get on the speaking circuit, and she's paying this lady $8,000 to learn this lady's, speaker deal. 8K, right? It's not like she has the 8K, but she can't afford not to pay it. Does that make sense? She can't afford not to pay it because that's how bad she wants to be. She wants to learn how to position herself to make money being a speaker, because the person she's learning from is purportedly on track to do $1 million a month doing speaking gigs and subsequently selling her time outside of the speaking gigs. $1 million a month. If that's not cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, I don't know what is. $1 million a month, standing on stage, and then subsequently you stand on stage at somebody else's event, mind you, because it's not even your event. You're not promoting it. You're not, none of that stuff. You just show up. Either they're paying you a fee when you get to a certain point, or you're paying them a fee. It just depends on where you're at. And you talk about whatever it is your quote unquote expertise is, and then you sell a product subsequently, right? Whether it's a coaching sessions or it's a drip feed product, meaning that a person gets information that's fed to them every week or whenever they finish a module or something like that. But a million, not 100,000, but $1 million a month. That's ridiculous, right? So of course that lady that she's paying the $8,000 is more. It's worth paying her that $8,000 to learn from her. Does that make sense to you guys? So whatever it is, it might, what you were talking about or thinking about doing to propel yourself, getting a little tongue tied, but what you're thinking about doing to propel yourself from where you are currently to where you want to be, you might not need to spend $8,000, right? You might just need to buy a bunch of information and read it, or go online and watch a shitload of YouTube videos, or find downloads that you can read to learn and propel yourself, but the start has to be that emotional attachment, that desire to change or flip the script in your existence, so therefore you're able to make your move, right? And then once that happens, and once you're sincere and you are literally emotionally attached to that change, then that's the manifestation portion of it. Then the creation part starts, right? So, and I hate to keep on beating this to death, but I'm going to go back to this example of last week for me. And that is that, my emotional attachment once again was, oh my God, my money is not coming in like I need it, right? So obviously finances makes the average person emotional to a degree, okay? Because especially when you have bills and obligations that you need to take care of. And so from that perspective, I was mentally all in, right? Literally mentally all in, because I know I needed X amount of dollars to be able to take care of the things I need to take care of. And so then the next thing that occurred is what? Right? So I'm just like, oh, okay, so what am I going to do? That's emotional. That's emotional. What am I going to do? I mean, you know, I gotta fix this. What can I do? So the deal is you hit that part and then you start creating, right, the next portion of it, right? It's like, what can I do? And then your mind will give you ideas. The deal is that you can't shoot those ideas down. Not all those ideas are going to work for you, but ideally, you have to take those ideas and go through them and work the one that works best for you, if that makes sense. Now, I'm going to say this to you guys, and you guys take this to heart. You have to think to yourself, if the recesses of your mind are giving you an idea, you probably want to try to work it, right? You probably, want to spend less time thinking through it and more time actually putting it to action. Because the worst case scenario in anything is the shit doesn't work. That's the worst case scenario. Am I right? I mean, and if it doesn't work, so what? Who cares? It just doesn't work. Then you move on. But you'll have an understanding of what you need to accomplish, whether something works or doesn't work. And so what's the next thing? It's the creation part. Then you just subsequently start creating whatever it is that your mind had manifested for you. You put it into action, and that's the magic of all that. Does anybody have anything to say? I'm gonna shut up for a second, and if anyone has anything to add or say, you want to put it in the chat, that's cool, because I know a lot of you are at work. If I can open up my chat box, which I'm seeing to have problems doing. All right. So if you guys aren't, I hope you're getting this. I really do, because this is the reason I believe that I'm able to sit my fat butt at home and work and make money without having to leave my house, because I was at a point where I became emotionally involved in changing my existence, all right? I was up. I lost everything. I had to take on a little job. After taking on that little job, I then, even though I loved the job actually, because I kept the job like years after I didn't even need the job any longer, right? I needed the job for approximately a year, but I kept the job for like 5 years in total because I loved what I was doing, which was working with, I don't even like to call them developmentally disabled, but individuals that are, they live on their own, they're self-sustaining, but they just needed a bit of help because they were not as developed in some arenas as you and I, or the quote unquote average person would be. And I actually developed a true love for the grouping of people that I was working with. These some of them older than myself, but somewhat of their minds weren't as developed, but they're able to take care of themselves. So they need help with their writing checks, and you take them grocery shopping, making sure they went to their, doctor's appointments and that type of thing, so a little social work, if you will. And I literally fell in love with the people that I was working with. And so therefore, even though it actually started costing me to work with them, I kept it for as long as I could because I just felt I needed to be there for them. And as a matter of fact, after I get off this call today, I'm going to do a little bit. And then I got one of the guys that I used to work with. Actually, he wasn't even my client. He was my client's roommate. And I am very fortunate to say, that, I still go down. I drive an hour away from me once a month or every, other month, and I still buy his groceries for him. And I'm very fortunate that A, I can afford to buy his groceries for him, and B, that I count him as a friend of mine, right? And that's what I have positioned myself to be able to do for people, is by creating what I've created, which I did from an emotional standpoint of, oh my God, I just, I remember being in the shower one day and I was just like, completely, utterly, I wanted back, what I had before, but I didn't want it, which is I was in the medical supply business, and then I was a government contractor, and before that I had a paging and cellular store, and I wanted all that shit back, but I just, in the monies that I was making, but I wanted it without having to leave my home to do it. And so, honestly, it just, that I was literally in the shower, I was damn near in tears, and in the medical supply business, I was doing $350, $450 a year. It was a good look for me, but the overall point was that I wanted all that without having to go out and deal with people directly. And that day in the shower, however many years ago it was, and I remember I was just like so emotionally oh my God, I want to change some shit. I want all that back, but I don't, I just don't want to deal with people because people are assholes. And so, not everybody, obviously, but hold on a second, I got in my other phone. But my point is that from that day forward, ting, like magic, shit started changing left and right. It was crazy. It was just, and it just proves my point over and over and over again. And that is that, it's just a matter of, how are we feeling about stuff? What is it that we want? And what is it that we want? How are we feeling about it? And just moving on that, just taking it upon ourselves to move on that thing, on that desire of ours. Okay? I mean, that's literally what it is. And I like my friend Denise, a year from now or less, I'll be doing something entirely different than what I'm doing now, because I'm ready to grow. I'm feeling it. I want it. I'm very desirous of it, and it's going to happen, right? Because I'm not giving it any opportunity not to happen. I'm moving towards that end. Look, these calls that I've been doing, these Power Monday Mastermind calls, it was an idea that I had, and in the beginning, I was really afraid to do it. So what did I do? I brought two other people in, my buddy who I work with, Joy, and also Nicole, who I also work with. And, I brought him in realistically as a support system for myself. But see, they have their own lives, right? And they have their own things. And, Nicole's killing it in what she's doing. Joy's killing it in what she's doing. So they have their own lives, their own existence. And so, the way it typically works is it's your idea. Sometimes you just need, support. You need other people going, oh, yeah, being your cheerleader, if you will. And cheerleaders can be male or female, and just supporting you, pushing you, and helping you. And then in the beginning, that's what you need sometimes in the beginning, and then your levels of fear and uncomfortableness fall away. And when your levels of fear and uncomfortableness fall away, then all of a sudden, you're golden, right? All of a sudden, you see that those fears, that the uncomfortableness that you had, all that extra stuff was just, false evidence appearing real, I should say. Is this making sense to you guys? And so here it is now, 20, I don't know how many calls it is. I'm going to say 20. I don't think it's quite 20, but, 20 calls later, we're golden. People are listening to these calls. People are coming on the calls. All that bullshit, that I was feeling and so, uncomfortable about was just all in my mind, which could have stopped me from doing this, which is something I literally love doing. I love this teaching part, and eventually I'm hoping, that you all participate. We get people that periodically will participate, but I'm hoping that you all will participate and chime in and start talking about your experiences in what you've done to develop your business, develop you, to grow your business, and so that your story will be of benefit to someone else on this call. Because it can't always be about Pascal. That's for damn sure. Does that make sense to you guys? I hope it really does. Hold on one second. I'll read this little quick thing. It says, everything will come to get where you are. Okay, so someone sent in a chat. And basically what they're saying is, or what they're asking, I guess, it says, and with emotional involvement, everything will come to get to where we mentally see, and then question mark. So I'm not quite understanding the question, but what I believe they're asking is, does your emotional involvement, your emotional intent, get you to where you want to be, I guess. If I'm not saying this right, please correct me. So, absolutely. If, in everything that we do as human beings, it is when we are emotionally tied into it that we tend to excel in it. And it doesn't really matter what it is. But so some things we do it automatically without thinking about it, right? If it's taking care of your child or something of that nature, you're emotionally involved. Getting up and going to work, whether you love it or you hate it, you're emotionally involved, right? And so it propels you to do whatever it is that you need to do. Taking care of your child, taking care of your, oh my God, when your child is sick, it's like you become this like super, well, not everybody, but you become like this different kind of parent. You know what I mean? When you know your child is really not doing well. Like my son, when he was young, he used to have asthma really bad. And I would just literally go and sleep in the hospital room with him at night. So I couldn't be there, during the day all the time. But in the evening, I was there. I would sleep in the little fold-out sofa thing. and I would just be with him all night. So my baby boy knew that I was with him. You know what I mean? Whether he gave a shit or not didn't matter. I cared, and so it didn't matter how tired I was. I knew what I had to do as my son's father, right? And so you take on when things are important to you, whether you realize it or not, you are emotionally attached to it. And now that I'm telling you that, you're going to start seeing it more in your life. You're going to start seeing it more. When things are important to you, you are emotionally attached to them, right? So when I was a young person, someone had said this to me, and it kind of blew me away, right? And so I'm going to say it to you all. And this is when I was young, I was a teenager, but the deal was that, like let's say I had a little crush on some young lady, and, she every time I'd call her, she was like, "No, Pascal, I'm washing my hair, I'm doing this, I'm doing that," right? Or, whatever. And, but what I would notice is if like, somebody else was calling that she was feeling, she kind of had some, she was literally, she liked that person. Man, all that washing her hair or had to do this, that, and that with her moms and, whatever, all that went out the window, right? And then the same with me, or the same with any of you, once you were kind of feeling yourself, and then you could tell somebody's liking you, they're feeling you, you just never had time for that person, right? Because you had no emotional attachment to them. You're like, eh. But the person that you liked, you always found time for them. You always found a way to make it work. That's kind of like a really small example, but it's like such an example I think most people have dealt with in their existence. That's why I'm utilizing it. It's amazing to me how when somebody you like or you care about, you find time for them. People that you don't give a shit about, it's like, why are they calling? God, Lord, what is with this person? Why don't they go do something else? Why don't they leave me alone? Whatever the case may be, right? Because there's nothing there. You don't care about that individual in that manner. You don't want to talk to them all the time. But somebody you care about, you will find the time for them. Somebody you like or have a crush on, whatever the case is, you think they're cute, their personality is something that you adore, you find the time for them. That is emotional attachment. And that very same emotional attachment in that mid-range frequency, right, of just, the having a crush on people, that is just the scratching the surface of the power of emotional attachment. And so when it is, I can tell you from being in the CPN business, I can't tell you why. I can tell you actually. I've met so many people that were in desperate scenarios, right? Desperate situations. Parents with kids, and they had no place to go. They would take their credit building system that they were buying from me, and which we'd subsequently give them the CPN to go with it, as for free. So they would take that and they would find a place utilizing that number in days, right? I mean, literally days. They would crush it, just bing. And the reason being is because they had no choice. They knew that this was a chance for them and their family to get a roof over their head, right? To get out of a hotel, to get out of their car. And so because they knew that, they would work it. They would work it, right? And then you have other people that, they're so nonchalant about stuff, and they just, whatever. Yeah, I'll try that. I'm going to try to give me a place. Nothing happens for them, right? Or it's just way down the road. because there's no state of desperation. And I've told you all that come on this call about different people I've worked with in the past that I've actually trained and coached. There's this young lady, total piece of crap human being, total piece of crap human being. But when I met her, she was in a shelter, right? She was in a shelter. It was her, and I think she had 3 babies. So when I met her, and I've never met her in person, but just via the phone, like 99.9% of the people I deal with, this young lady was just in dire straits, just dire straits. And so what I did for her was I not only, turned her onto our program, but I also gave her some game, right? So she could change her existence. So she went from living in a shelter to in desperation, right? From living in a shelter to making well over $100,000 in less than 6 months. Just shelter to living in a home, sending me pictures of her, dressed all fab, bought a new car, went on vacation, her and her family. They live in Texas, but they were taking pictures of her on a plane going to Cuba. Just, took pictures of her and her kids at the water park. Just all that, right? She was in a such a desperate. When I first met her, her mindset was so desperate that anything I gave her, she read it that night, would call me the next morning. Hey, Pascal, so what about this? What about that? Just like, just like nothing but just, she was telling me stuff that I had even forgotten. She would say, okay, so look, I read all that stuff last night. I'm like, no, you didn't. She was like, yeah, I read it all last night. And I'm like, there's no way. But then she started telling me what was, and I'm like, God, dog, she read it all last night. And I'm thinking, that's crazy. But she was that desperate, that emotionally attached to getting out of her situation, getting out of that shelter, that she changed her life in less than 6 months. Now, the downside is for her, and the reason I say she's a piece of crap human being, is because she started, when she got so much money coming into her, that she started ripping people off, right? She started going, she felt that money coming in should be for her to dress real fab, buy this new car, go on vacation, take money from people for credit rebuilding, credit repair, and just keep it and not do anything for them. Or take money from people for trade lines and just keep it and never give them the trade line, right? We can't do that, right? So at the end of everything, I had heard from a lot of different people, that she was being sued left, right, and center, by a ton of people. So, that's another thing. I'm not going to really go into that part of it, but, you have to be a decent human being in the process of this, right? And I'm not saying that you're required to go out like what I've chosen to do, and go out like I'm going to do, like I said in a little while, and go take Rick, buy him a bunch of groceries. That's my joy. That's what I want to do, right? But what I am saying is that, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be a benevolent giver, but you do have to be honest and a decent human being in your development, in your growth. You don't want your growth to be all about stealing and robbing from people. Can that occur? Absolutely. Can you be very successful at it? Absolutely. Because the universe is in neutral, right? There's no good, there's no bad. It's just in neutral. And it's what you put into it that makes the difference. If that makes any sense to you guys, I don't want to go too much into that kind of stuff, but it's just, it's what you do. There are people that are very successful in this world, and they understand the concepts of where they want to be, and being a director of their mind, right? Pushing it in whatever direction it is. And they're some of the worst people in the world. But so you can be the worst freaking human being in the world and be one of the most successful people in the world, right? Someone, you wanted to say something, Trey? I saw your name pop up.
No, I'm sorry, I got disconnected.
Oh, okay, no biggie. So, you guys have to understand the bottom line to all of this stuff. In my opinion, from what I'm learning, what I understand, and what I've seen throughout my existence and existence of other people that I've talked to and deal with, is that wherever, right, whatever you are doing right here, right now, is cool. It's okay. It is what it is. But if you want to make that change, make a difference, grow, develop, create, manifest more, it's all about becoming emotionally attached to that desire, to that want, and then subsequently manifesting the thoughts in your mind, and then creating, from those manifested thoughts. But it all starts with, what is your emotional temperature to that thing, right? What frequency are you on, right? Because if you say, I'm emotionally attached to it, but then no, ain't shit gonna happen. But I'm talking about when you are feeling it, when it is something that you are so about that you're willing to there's an old saying, and it's burn the ships behind you, right? So there's no retreat, because you feel like you have no other way to go, no other direction to go, but in the direction towards whatever it is that you want to create, for yourself, for your family, So every time, that I need money, I promise you all, it becomes an emotional thing for me, because my fat ass likes to eat. So it literally becomes an emotional thing. I have a lifestyle which to some people are like, that's stupid, but to me it works, right? I consider myself to be a very happy person 99.9% of the time. I'm a happy person because I've created, an existence that I wanted, but now I want something different. I don't have any big complaints. I can tell you all sincerely, my fat ass I was crying in the shower. I wanted change. I was so emotionally involved in the change that I wanted, and the something new. I wanted the money that I used to generate. I was unhappy that I was broke, and so I wanted it, and I felt it. I needed it, and I'm telling you guys, the first thought came in my head. I made the move on that thought. I started making a little bit of money. I said, "Oh my God, what the hell?" And then I did a couple other things, a couple other twists, and started. So I manifested the thought literally in the shower that day. 10, 12 years, whatever the hell it was ago. Let's call it a decade ago. And started making that flip, and then it just started occurring, so that I started creating this existence. Now I'm ready to create the next level for myself. I'm ready to make that big move, and I'm trying to not sound corny, but I keep on saying the title of this of this talk, but it's so serious, y'all. It's like, it's a big move, man. I mean, I can't complain about my lifestyle because it's what I've created. But I'm telling you that I'm now ready for that next level of my existence. And I know that the only way I can get there, so you might find another route, I don't know, but I have to be emotionally attached and then subsequently make the moves necessary to make it happen, right? I can't rely upon where I'm at this very second in time, at this moment, in this moment in space and time, right? I can't rely on that shit. I have to literally say to myself, okay, Pascal, man, it's all about you. What are you going to do, man? If you really want that, you got to make it happen. That's it. So this is over. So if anybody has anything to say or ask, now's the time to do it, because it is 9:58 and I'm about to get up out of here. So I got to do a little bit of work, make a couple of return calls, and then I'm going to go out and see my man Rick, take him shopping, and then make my way back out here before traffic builds up. So does anybody have anything they want to say, add? If you have it, now's a good time. Okay, going once, going twice, 3 times. Thank you for joining the call. And most everybody has my number on here. If you don't, it's 951-515-4728. 951-515-4728. And I would, love to hear from you all. Let's just do this, y'all. One of the things I am going to go on for another second here. One of the things that I want to create is a grouping of people of like minds, right? It doesn't matter what your business is, okay? It just matters that you're trying to accomplish and create something. So a grouping of people of like minds that are building and developing together, and then subsequently taking what they're doing, and I'm not saying you got to do this shit for free, but taking what they're doing and then going to a community that is a community of less, right? A community without the mental development that they need, right? And showing them what the hell you're doing and helping them develop. That's important to me. It doesn't have to be important to you, but if it is, let's develop you first and develop me first, and then subsequently, give to someone else, to develop someone else. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being on the call. This call is done. I've already asked if anyone has anything they want to share, and I've gotten a couple little messages here. Let's see if it's anything that... Okay. So these messages, I thank you for whomever left these messages. And we're done, y'all. Take care. Bye-bye.